Hey everybody, welcome back to Brent's Backyard Redneckery. You know, it's that time of year, Christmas. Everybody's gathering around with family, singing carols. Well, not singing carols, but hearing people sing carols. So the other day I was watching this old television special from my childhood that was pretty bad, but not as bad as I remember. It's the California Raisins doing a claymation Christmas. Anyway, they have the song called Here We Come a Wassailing, right? And they have offshoots. Here we come a waffling. Here we come a waddling. Whatever. But wassailing, what is wassailing? I have no idea. Some kind of celebration? Some kind of drink? Well, my wife came across a recipe for something called wassail, which I assume is wassailing. So today, we're going to get ready and make us some wassail, or wassail, however you want to say it. So get ready. I'll tell you what you need to do. All right, so these are the ingredients we're going to use. Light brown sugar, dark brown sugar, pineapple juice, a cranberry apple mixture, the mulled apple cider stuff that I made, cinnamon stick, tea, and sliced up oranges. So to make this, it looks like all we have to do is go ahead and brew our tea, mix up the other stuff in our pot, get it up to a nice hot temperature. Don't want it to boil. We're going to let it simmer for 40 to 45 minutes and then we'll check it out. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so what we're going to do to start out here, so I'm going to go ahead and take my mulled apple cider and pour it in here. We've got a half a gallon of this goodness. It's going to go right in there. And then our cran-apple juice, we've got 32 ounces of this. And pour that in. And the same thing with the pineapple juice. We have 32 ounces of this. And then I'm going to get my tea started up. We're going to do 3 tea bags. We're not going to do a quart. We're going to do a half a quart of tea, and then we're going to mix that in there with that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that boiling, and then we'll go on to the next part. All right, so what we'll do with our tea is I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 cups of water in here and pop this lid on. And we'll put this on to boil. And once that thing boils, it's going to start whistling out my little teapot hole here. My wife got this a couple years ago for a gift from me because she wanted to make tea with it, and she hasn't used it yet, so I figured I would commandeer it. Now for our oranges, all we're going to do with these is just slice them right along like that where we get pretty decent kind of thick slices. Nothing too thin, nothing too thick, no fingers involved. And then we'll take all these orange slices, we'll plop those into the juicy liquid that we have so far and get it started with a little bit of heat on there so that we're ready to get this stuff rolling. And once the tea is up to a boil, we'll go ahead and pour that in, and then we'll bring it up to temperature and let it sit there and marinate for 40-45 minutes, and we'll see how it tastes. For our brown sugar, we're going to use half dark and half light. And the recipe calls for a cup. We're going to go with a half a cup of each. Pack tight. And then we're going to throw in our cinnamon. We're going to use a whole cinnamon stick and not ground cinnamon because it's not all that easy to strain out ground cinnamon. All right, so there's our brown sugar. Going to take a whole stick out of our bag here. Big fat cinnamon stick. Drop her in there. You can probably hear that tea starting to whistle. You definitely see the steam. Yep. So we're about ready to toss that in. And I will get everything put away here and pour the tea in. And then we'll start this up to temperature and get it rolling. All right, so the first thing we're going to do while that tea is whistling is I'm going to let it actually steep for about 5 minutes So I'm going to kill the heat. We're just going to move it off the heat. Let that steep for 5 minutes, and then we'll get that poured in there. While that tea is steeping, I'm going to go ahead and mix this up with all my sugar and everything. And I'm going to drop in my orange slices. Grab those here. And drop those off in there. All right, so those can sit in there and soak. And while those are sitting there soaking, once the tea's done, we'll drop it in. And then we'll just let it sit and simmer and we'll test it. It's quite a strong tea, which is what the recipe calls for. So we went with a good black tea here. And that's nice and boiled, steeped for 5 minutes. Now we're just going to let this rise up and do its thing. All right, so I've let this sit here and simmer for a bit. We're up to about 115. I'm going to let this get up to about 140, and I'm going to cut it down to probably a 1 or 2 and just let it simmer for the next 45 minutes. All right, my wife's the official taste tester, and she said that this doesn't have enough cinnamon. So we'll drop in a couple more sticks and let it do this thing for another 15 minutes or so and see how it is after that. All right, so we got a little bit more of a taste test there. I think it needs just a wee bit more sugar, so we're going to go with another 1/4 cup of light brown and a 1/4 cup of dark brown. And we're going to let it sit for another 15 minutes, and it should be good. We can strain it out and be ready to give it another test, and we'll see how delicious it turns out to be. All right, so that's all done. We're going to do our last step here of straining this stuff into our pot. So we'll get all the orange and cinnamon and everything like that out of it. We'll get this set up. Pour it out, you'll be able to see what the liquid itself looks like. I'm going to spill that all over myself and burn my leg. It felt great. All right, come on. Quit splattering everywhere, please, please, please. Okay. So that's going to be our remnants. And then we'll strain it one more time to make sure I get out all the small sediment. And then we'll bottle it. Just so you can see what we got there. That's the kind of funk that's left behind from cinnamon and all that. All right, so our final strain here. Now you'll really be able to see it. There we go. That's a lot better. And we'll take a look down in there. See how much more we've strained out of old funky stuff. And then whatever's left will just settle in the bottom of the jars, and we'll mix it up whenever we're ready to serve it. There's just still a little bit left, but no big deal. That'll take care of that. We'll let this cool down and get it bottled up. All right, so I've let this cool down a little bit. I'm gonna take a little sample, see how it tastes. Here we come, a wassailing. Oh man, that is actually pretty doggone good. I didn't expect it to be. But yeah, this Christmas, make sure you and your family go a wassailing too. I'll leave the recipe to this in the description section. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you learned something, enjoyed it that much, share it with your friends. Come back next time. I'll tell you what you need to do. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.